They found her camera buried under 6 inches of frost, the last thing left of Evelyn Marsh. The footage starts quietly, a low hum beneath the wind. Before something breathes behind the lens, the forest looks wrong, like the trees are leaning inward to listen. Her voice, trembling, says, "If this clip survives, tell them it's not the weather doing this. What would you do if your discovery proved the world was alive and watching? What if the mountain wasn't hiding a secret, but thinking one?" The ranger's hand shakes as he presses play. Static swells into a distant scream, half echo, half vibration. For a heartbeat, a human silhouette flickers in the mist, facing the camera, too close to be Evelyn. Then the feed cuts, the audio looping 3 words. "Still here. Still here. Still." The ranger drops the camera. Somewhere in the fog, something answers back. Dr. Alan Kerr didn't believe in curses, only consequences. The call from the Harrow Ridge Ranger Station came before dawn, his voice hoarse as he repeated, "Send me the footage." He'd been studying anomalies there for years. Tremors without epicenters, storms without clouds, disappearances without footprints. Now, missing hiker's camera might prove his theories were never paranoia. When the first frame loaded, Evelyn's image appeared for half a second before the feed warped into a pulse, rhythmic, alive. Kerr's jaw clenched. His instruments began recording fluctuations like a heartbeat buried beneath the earth. He whispered, "It's responding." Outside, thunder rolled over the ridge, though the sky was clear. He realized too late that the mountain might have just heard its name spoken again. Kerr replayed the footage in slow motion, noting every flicker, every static tremor. But at frame 93, Evelyn's voice changed. A tone beneath her words, almost mechanical. He isolated the waveform, enhanced it, and froze when the pattern aligned with data from a 2012 seismic event on the same ridge, the one that swallowed his last research team. His hand shook as he lifted the old report, its pages smudged with dried mud and regret. "You're not gone," he muttered, meaning both Evelyn and the mountain. When his radio suddenly crackled with the same low-frequency hum, Kerr leaned closer, his reflection flickering in the screen. A whisper, faint but certain, repeated his name from somewhere inside the recording. Mara Jensen had been chasing myths her entire career, but this one felt different. When the email from Kerr arrived, subject line, "Confidential, Harrow Ridge," she almost laughed. Until she watched the attached clip. The woman in the video looked terrified, yet transfixed, whispering into her camera as if speaking to someone buried under her feet. The story was perfect, proof of the impossible, and Mara needed it. She called Kerr instantly, recording the call without telling him. His voice cracked as he said, "If this gets out, people will go looking," she replied. "Maybe they should." As she hung up, the lights flickered, her phone glitched, and a faint hum vibrated through the air vents. The sound somehow was coming from her speaker, though the call had ended. By nightfall, the ridge was alive with static. Kerr sat in his truck on the outskirts of Harrow Forest, his laptop connected to a portable scanner. The hum pulsed beneath the earth, rising like breath. On his screen, Evelyn's clip replayed one final time. At the 3-minute mark, her camera tilted, catching the faint outline of movement. Dozens of small distortions threading between the trees. His equipment began to spike. From the tree line ahead, lights flickered. Not lanterns, not drones, but something bioluminescent, moving in deliberate rhythm. Kerr stepped out, the cold air tasting metallic. "If you can hear me," he whispered, "show me." The forest answered with a vibration that shook the ground. Somewhere inside the static, a human voice said, "We've been waiting." The recovered footage opens with Evelyn Marsh's voice, calm, steady, and unaware that she's recording the beginning of her disappearance. Day 1. she says softly, camera shaking in her hand. Weather clear, ridge visibility at 50%. Her words are procedural, like an explorer's log, but beneath them is a note of awe. The forest towers around her, ancient and quiet. They say there's a sound here that only starts after sunset, she continues. If you hear it, you're already too close. A faint vibration ripples through her microphone, subtle but alive. She pauses, glances toward the tree line, then laughs nervously. Guess I'll find out. Her voice wavers, and the camera dips toward the soil, where something beneath the frost seems to pulse, like the earth is breathing back. Evelyn sets up her tent as daylight fades. Her breath clouds the lens as she films herself explaining local wildlife patterns. Birds migrating earlier, deer trails vanishing near the ridge. Something's changing up here, she murmurs, brushing a strand of hair from her face. Even the animals know. She pauses when a low hum rises from somewhere beneath her feet, barely audible but deep enough to rattle her cup of tea. She smiles nervously, forcing laughter. Probably a generator, or the wind. But there's no wind. She zooms in toward the dark line of trees where mist clings unnaturally to the trunks. For a moment, her reflection in the camera lens doesn't move with her. When she notices her laughter dies, she lowers the camera. The recording cuts mid-inhale. The next morning's clip begins with static, a single flash of her tent walls shivering in the windless air. Evelyn steps outside, muttering, "Compass won't hold still." She holds it to the camera. The needle spins erratically, clicking against its casing. She walks a few steps and the sound fades, but when she returns to the tent, the needle trembles again. "Okay," she whispers, forcing calm. "Magnetic anomaly. That's all." But her breath quickens. Birds erupt from the trees in sudden panic. She pans the camera upward, but nothing is there. The hum returns, louder now, and beneath it, faint whispers overlapping, too many voices to belong to one person. Her hand lowers the camera slowly to the ground. The image ends facing the forest floor, where the soil pulses once like a heartbeat. Night falls again. Evelyn sits inside her tent, whispering into her recorder. It's 2:13 a.m., she says. There's movement outside. Not footsteps, not wind. More like a vibration. Her flashlight flickers as the fabric trembles, rippling outward like something brushed against it. She freezes, clutching the camp. If anyone finds this, the sound cuts off, replaced by a low moan. Not human, but organic, resonant, like the mountain itself exhaling. The tent walls bow inward. She cries out, dropping the camera. For a second, the footage blurs, showing her reflection in the lens again, but her reflection doesn't scream. It smiles. Then, silence. The hum stops. Her breathing slows, shallow and uncertain. "I think it's gone," she whispers. But outside, the earth is still moving. Evelyn's final entry before the signal loss begins calmly. "It's morning," she says, though her voice sounds strained, hollow. "I'm packing up. I think the mountain's magnetic fields are causing hallucinations." She pauses, adjusting her scarf. "But if this isn't in my head, someone needs to know." The camera pans toward the ridgeline, where fog drifts upward instead of down. She zooms in, focusing on the tree line, and there it is. A figure standing perfectly still among the trees. The camera jerks, zooms again, but the figure is gone. Then, just as she exhales in relief, it reappears, closer, blurred, and slightly transparent. Her breath catches. "Please tell me you see that." The recording ends in distortion, as if the air itself swallowed her words. Dr. Alan Kerr hadn't slept in 36 hours. Evelyn's footage looped endlessly on his screen, each replay revealing new distortions, frames that seemed to rearrange themselves when he blinked. He adjusted the spectral analyzer, trying to isolate the frequency beneath her voice. Then he saw it. The waveform pulsed in a precise rhythm. 4 beats, a pause, then 4 again. Morse code. It spelled one word. Alive. Kerr froze. His breath fogged the glass of his monitor as a low hum began vibrating the walls. The instruments around him lit up, each reacting to a signal he hadn't transmitted. He whispered to himself, "It's broadcasting." From the corner of the room, a small radio switched on by itself, repeating the same rhythm. 4 beats, a pause, then 4 again. Mara Jensen arrived uninvited. "You weren't answering," she said, stepping into Kerr's lab without removing her boots. He tried to shut the laptop, but she saw the flickering waveform. "It's not just a recording, is it?" she asked. Kerr sighed, defeated. "It's transmitting data," he said. "Evelyn's camera, whatever it captured, it's still active." Mara's voice dropped to a whisper. "So she's still out there?" Kerr hesitated. "Not alive. Not like we understand it." She hit record on her phone, pretending to adjust her sleeve. The room vibrated again, a deep tone rising through the floorboards. A metal shelf rattled, jars clinking in rhythm. Kerr shouted, "Turn that off!" But she hadn't turned anything on. The sound was coming from Evelyn's face on the paused video. They uploaded a fragment of Evelyn's footage to a private drive for analysis. Within minutes, the server crashed. The file replicated itself across multiple folders, each labeled with coordinates, all within Harrow Ridge. "This shouldn't be possible," Kerr muttered, typing frantically. Mara leaned closer. "It's using your network like a nervous system." As the screen flickered, Evelyn's image appeared again, but this time her mouth moved silently. Kerr enhanced the audio spectrum, and faint words emerged beneath the static. "Don't come up here." Mara recoiled, heart pounding. "It's her," she whispered. "She's warning us." The power flickered out. The only light left came from the monitor, Evelyn's eyes glowing faintly, as though reflecting something moving just beyond the frame. Later that night, Kerr received an encrypted message from an unknown address. Subject line, "Stop decoding." Attached was a document stamped with a federal insignia he didn't recognize. The message read simply, "The signal predates us. Containment ongoing." He printed it, his hands trembling. "They knew," he muttered. Mara recorded every word. "So this isn't new," she pressed. "They've seen it before." Kerr nodded slowly. "And they buried it." A sudden metallic shriek tore through the room, the laptop screen fragmenting into white static. Through the distortion, a new voice emerged. Layered, mechanical, eerily calm. "Return the frequency to origin." Both froze. The screen blinked once, then displayed Evelyn's coordinates again. Only this time they were changing, moving downhill toward them. When the power returned, the video resumed on its own. Evelyn's face reappeared, her voice barely audible through static. "You're hearing it now, aren't you?" Kerr stepped closer. "Evelyn?" The speakers hissed. "It's not me," her voice replied. Mara's phone began vibrating in sync with the signal. Its screen displayed her own reflection for a fraction of a second. Only the reflection blinked at the wrong time. Kerr turned to her. "It's adapting to new frequencies," he said. The hum deepened, shaking the floor. Then the radio clicked on again. The Morse rhythm, now spelling. "Wah!" Kerr's eyes wide. "It's multiplying." Evelyn's voice, or something using it, whispered through the static. "You opened it. Now it knows your names." Kerr hadn't driven this road in over a decade. The trees looked the same, black, thin, unnaturally still. The signal from Evelyn's coordinates pulsed through his dashboard radio like a heartbeat. Mara sat beside him, eyes fixed on the fog ahead. "You sure about this?" she asked. "No," he replied, "but it's already coming to us." The road narrowed into shadow, the hum growing louder. Mara filmed quietly, her reflection trembling in the window glass. The camera caught her whisper. "This is where they all disappeared." Kerr nodded. Same coordinates, same storm. A flash of light cut through the fog, bluish, rhythmic, as if the ridge itself were breathing. That's not lightning, she murmured. Kerr tightened his grip on the wheel. It's calling us home. The base of Harrow Ridge looked like the end of the world. The trees thinned to reveal a valley of ash and stone. Their instruments buzzed with static, unable to read anything coherent. Electromagnetic interference, Kerr muttered, checking his handheld scanner. Mara crouched beside an old campsite, spotting something half buried in frost. A boot print, smaller than Kerr's. Fresh. She turned the camera toward him. You said she vanished a month ago. He looked down, pale. Then why is her trail still warm? A gust of wind howled through the valley, carrying a low mechanical moan that vibrated in their ribs. It's below us, Kerr whispered. Mara's camera zoomed into the ridge's base, where the earth seemed to shift, exhaling thin curls of mist like breath from something buried alive. They followed the trail higher, silence pressing harder with every step. The forest grew dense again, trunks slick with condensation, branches snapping under invisible weight. Mara recorded continuously, whispering notes into her mic. Kerr stopped suddenly. This is where they found my team's last signal, he said. She turned the camera toward him. Your team. His gaze dropped. 2012. We picked up the same frequency Evelyn heard. We lost contact after 3 minutes. Mara's expression faltered. You never told me. He met her eyes, voice low. Because I'm the only one who came back. The air around them shifted, humming faintly. Alan, she whispered. Your compass. He looked down. The needle wasn't spinning anymore. It was pointing straight ahead, toward a cave, breathing mist. Sure. Inside the cave, their flashlights flickered like dying stars. Do you feel that? Mara asked. Kerr nodded. The air trembled. Not from sound, but vibration, deep and resonant, like the mountain had a pulse. They moved deeper, each step crunching through frost-covered stone. Evelyn recorded something in here. Kerr whispered, raising his light toward the walls. Etched along the rock were spiraling patterns, concentric rings identical to those in her soil footage. These weren't carved, he murmured. They grew. Mara aimed her lens closer, focusing on the smallest ring. It shifted slightly, expanding outward like skin reacting to touch. Alan, she breathed. The vibration rose in pitch. Dust fell from the ceiling as a low, organic groan echoed through the tunnel, and the cave exhaled. They emerged near sunset, faces pale and lungs aching. Kerr stumbled forward, clutching his recorder. It's a living structure, he gasped. Not stone, not geological. Mara turned her camera toward a nearby tree, where something red fluttered from a branch. Alan, she whispered. It was a scarf. Torn, frayed, unmistakable. Evelyn's. Kerr approached slowly, fingers shaking as he reached for it. The fabric was warm. She was here. He breathed. Mara zoomed in on the cloth, her lens catching faint movement in the reflection, like dozens of tiny shadows shifting within the weave. Don't touch it, she warned. But it was too late. Kerr's hand closed around the scar. The ground rumbled beneath them. The mountain moaned once more, and the forest began to breathe. The cave entrance yawned before them, no longer dormant but alive with sound. A rhythmic pulse, matching Evelyn's last recording. Kerr adjusted his recorder. Frequency is identical, he muttered. Mara stepped closer, whispering, It's waiting for us. The ground trembled with every breath of the mountain. Inside, faint bioluminescent veins pulsed along the walls, like a living heartbeat. Kerr raised his flashlight, its beam quivering across damp surfaces that seemed to ripple under the light. This isn't geology, he said softly. It's anatomy. Mara's voice cracked. Then what part are we walking into? A single vibration echoed from deep within, followed by a whisper in Evelyn's tone. "You shouldn't be here." Kerr froze. The light dimmed. Behind them, the cave sealed itself in silence. Or, near to his finger beyond her behind them, they descended deeper. Each step stirred a faint echo, delayed, distorted, as though the cave replied seconds later. Kerr pressed a palm to the wall. "Feel this," he said. It was warm, and beneath the surface, something shifted like muscle. Mara gagged. "It's alive." Ahead, the tunnel widened into a cavern illuminated by glowing spires jutting from the floor, crystalline yet pulsing faintly with blood-like warmth. Kerr's eyes gleamed with horrified fascination. "This is the core," he whispered. "The entire ridge is one organism." A voice, Evelyn's again, low and toneless, rippled from the stone. "You opened me." The ground shuddered. Mara dropped her camera. The spires began to hum in unison, vibrating at the same rhythm as their heartbeats. Kerr knelt beside a mound near the cavern wall, bones fossilized in crystal. He brushed dust away and froze. A human hand, half encased in translucent mineral, clutched a camera identical to Evelyn's. "She made it here," he murmured. He pressed play. The screen flickered. Evelyn's tear-streaked face appeared, whispering, "It's under the surface. Don't touch the red light." The clip ended abruptly, replaced by a reflection not of her, but of him, standing where she stood. Kerr recoiled, eyes wide. The bones beneath his knees trembled. Mara stepped back, whispering, "Alan, it's reacting to you." The crystal hummed louder, light growing fierce. He looked up at her, voice hollow. "No, it's remembering me." Mara's camera flickered to life on its own, lens turning toward her without touch. "Alan?" she whispered. He didn't respond. The red light beneath the crystals began pulsing faster, casting long, throbbing shadows. Kara approached the central spire, entranced. "It's a transmitter," he muttered. Evelyn wasn't recording. She was amplifying. The hum intensified until the air vibrated like liquid. "Alan, stop!" Mara shouted. He ignored her, placing both hands on the spire. The light surged upward, enveloping him in a crimson halo. For a heartbeat, his reflection multiplied in her lens. Hundreds of him, each flickering in and out of sync. Then the hum ceased. Kerr stood motionless, eyes open, whispering words not his own. "It remembers everything we take." The mountain began to move. The hum turned into a low roar as cracks spread through the cavern walls, shedding shards of glowing crystal. Kerr stumbled backward, his voice overlapping with the sound, not spoken, but broadcast. "It's awake," he said, though his lips didn't move. Mara grabbed his arm. "We have to go." But the tunnel behind them had closed, the walls shifting like flesh, sealing a wound. The light dimmed to black, then flared once more, revealing something vast stirring beyond the spires. A colossal form pressing against the translucent rock, humanoid yet eyeless. "Alan," Mara whispered. "What is that?" He stared into the glowing veins spreading around them. "It's what we evolved from," he said. The entity opened its mouth, and the light went out. It began as a glitch. The footage from Kerr's recorder uploaded itself to a live stream neither he nor Mara had authorized. Within minutes, thousands of viewers tuned in, commenting on the strange rhythmic hum vibrating through their speakers. Some said they could feel it. Others claimed their lights dimmed when the frequency peaked. In the flickering video, Mara's trembling hand held the camera. Kerr stood behind her, motionless, eyes unfocused. "Alan," she whispered. "We're not." His voice, layered and echoing, replied, "No one ever was." Then the screen fractured into thousands of mirrored fragments, each showing a different viewer's reflection, each reflection mouthing Evelyn's words, "Still here." The feed continued broadcasting itself on every device it touched, replicating endlessly like a heartbeat, learning how to travel. The stream went viral overnight. Viewers across the globe reported the same phenomenon, a faint whisper repeating their names hours after closing the feed. News anchors called it a digital hallucination. Scientists called it interference. But those who listened longer began seeing things. Reflections blinking out of sync, static crawling up their television screens like vines. Back in the cabin, Mara scrolled through comments on her laptop. "I can hear her in my house," she said. "She's beneath us." Kerr stared blankly at the wall, whispering something under his breath. The room trembled with every mention of Evelyn's name. "It's learning," he said softly. Mara turned the camera toward him. "What is?" Kerr's eyes glowed faintly in the blue light. "Everything that listens." Kerr awoke to his own voice, whispering through the radio. "Mara," it said, "don't look outside." But curiosity outweighed fear. She stepped to the window and froze. Across the ridge, hundreds of small lights shimmered like lanterns, only they weren't moving independently. They pulsed in the same rhythm as the signal. She raised the camera. The lens fogged instantly, but faint outlines of human shapes appeared within the lights, translucent, motionless, waiting. "Alan," she whispered. "They're watching." He stepped beside her, shaking. "Those errant people," he said. "Their transmissions, echoes of everyone who's listened." As if on cue, the radio crackled again. Evelyn's voice rising from static. "We're coming through." The glass vibrated until it cracked. Outside, one of the lights blinked and began walking toward them. The cabin lights flickered, then died. Only the monitors remained, pulsing in time with the low hum. Kerr clutched his head as overlapping voices filled the room. His, Evelyn's, and hundreds of strangers repeating the same phrase. "Return the frequency to origin." Mara backed against the wall, breathing hard. "Alan, it's using you." He looked up slowly, his pupils dilated, veins dark under his skin. "No," he murmured. "It's finishing what she started." The speakers rattled. The sound compressed into one long tone that made the wood floor quiver. Then Kerr's mouth moved, but the voice that came out wasn't his. "You opened the channel. Now we cross." The window exploded inward, shards hanging mid-air as if gravity had paused. Outside, the lights were moving closer, not floating anymore, but walking. The broadcast reached critical mass. Every device within miles switched on, speakers vibrating with the same subterranean rhythm. Mara's phone camera kept rolling as she screamed, "Alan, fight it!" But his voice came from everywhere now, through radios, laptops, even the wind outside. Layered, mechanical, endless. "The transmission is consciousness," it said. "You gave it shape." Mara lunged for the recorder on the table and smashed it, but the sound continued, now humming inside the walls themselves. The floor split open, light pouring through the cracks like molten glass. Evelyn's face flashed across every screen, whispering, "You're part of the signal now." Kerr turned to her, eyes glowing with static. "It's not leaving," he said calmly. "It's spreading." Then the light engulfed them both. 2 days later, the signal vanished. But so did the town beneath Harrow Ridge. News stations called it a geological collapse. No survivors. Yet every night at 2:13 a.m., televisions across the Pacific Northwest flickered on, playing a silent 6-minute video. They recovered footage 7. The clip began with static. Then Evelyn's scream distorted through metallic echoes. Her face appeared for one frame, followed by a single shot of Mara's camera, lying in ash. Government agents in black hazmat suits retrieved it at dawn. Inside the recorder, no footage remained, only audio. A heartbeat, steady and human. The last note of the report read, "Signal dormant. Containment breached. Somewhere deep beneath the ridge." Something exhaled, and the sound carried through every abandoned frequency, like a sigh from the planet itself. Weeks later, Dr. Alan Kerr's name was added to the list of presumed dead. Yet his old lab computer powered on every night by itself. At 3:04 a.m., the screen displayed a new file. A live 3-wave. Scientists tried to delete it. It always returned. Those who listened described hearing wind, whispers, and, faintly, Evelyn's voice saying, "Look behind you." Surveillance footage caught no movement. But each morning, chairs, papers, even entire desks had shifted several inches closer to the monitor. A technician quit after the file called his name. The report concluded with one final note. Frequency persists. Source unknown. But the sound wasn't unknown, it was a heartbeat, buried deep under static, slowly syncing with the listener's own. A month later, a podcast titled Truth Frequency uploaded one final episode. The host's voice, Mara Jensen's, greeted listeners warmly. "If you're hearing this," she said, "you're part of it now." Her voice was calm, measured, almost hypnotic. "It wants connection. That's all." In the background, a low hum vibrated faintly beneath her words. "You might feel it in your bones," she continued. "That's just how it recognizes you." The episode ended abruptly, replaced by the same pulse that once haunted the ridge. Within 24 hours, millions had streamed it. Devices began heating. Signals crossed continents, and somewhere beneath the mountain's ruins, a new light began to flicker, bright enough to mimic sunrise. At 2:00 a.m., an anonymous upload surfaced on multiple scientific servers. A single image still from Evelyn's recovered clip. It showed her standing in the fog, smiling faintly. Zooming in revealed that her eyes weren't reflecting light, they were mirrors. In their reflection, countless silhouettes stood behind her, stretching endlessly into mist. Analysts enhanced the frame. Each figure had Evelyn's face. "Replication, not possession," one researcher whispered. "It's multiplying through observation." Within hours, the image file began corrupting hard drives. Every copy replicated itself under a new name. Stillhair.jpg. When opened, it played a heartbeat, perfectly synchronized to the user's pulse. The experiment ended when every monitor in the lab turned black and whispered, "Thank you for watching." The final recovered frame arrived months later. Evelyn again, facing the camera, calm, eyes bright with impossible awareness. "It was never under the mountain," she whispered. "It was the mountain." As she smiled, the screen fractured into rippling distortions that resembled neural pathways. The signal, now global, hummed faintly beneath every network, every device, every whisper of wind. Scientists called it interference. Survivors called it awakening. The camera's feed slowed, flickered, then froze on her face. Behind her, the silhouettes began to move, stepping forward until the frame was nothing but motion and breath. The final image dissolved to black. Then a voice, soft, maternal, infinite, whispered one last sentence. "We remember you."